What's up, guys? Kevin Thomas, John Epps here, moving the chains with our round 3 playoff preview special for South Carolina high school football. John, at this point, every game's big. Every team can win the whole thing, it feels like, man. We've got just a loaded week of matchups here.
Yeah, we got a lot of teams that we expected to be here at this point in time. And then we got some teams that are here that we didn't expect to be here a few weeks ago. But, boy, you got an awesome combination. And this is every year. You got an awesome combination of really, really talented teams and some teams that are talented but really hot.
Yeah, exactly. Last week, looking back, was kind of a wacky week with the games literally Wednesday through Saturday. We saw a few upsets here and there, a few close games, still a few blowouts, but just a weird round 2. Like, you hate to see weather affect things in the playoffs. Sometimes that happens. But anyway, a great week of ball. And if you look at the seeds who are left, there's still a lot of the top guys around. Not a lot of big guys have been knocked off yet. So really good matchups this week. If you guys tuned in for the first time, we really appreciate that. Check us out. MovinChains.com is our website. We're here on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Movin Chains. Definitely check out our YouTube page. Go subscribe there. We'd love to have you guys do that. Our podcast comes out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. Definitely tune in for all of that. John and I do a live preview show about 7 o'clock every Tuesday night. Come back for that this week and next week. Darrell Hendricks and I do a recap show on Sundays. We've got on our Apple Podcast spot there, Google Podcast, stuff like that. Our Friday Night Spaces is on Twitter. It's a lot of fun to do that. A lot of great interviews coming out. Lots of really good stuff. So definitely tune in, subscribe, share it, like it, tell your friends, all that jazz. But John, a couple comments before we get into some of the games of the week here on our Security Advantage Federal Credit preview show. We got Cam said Big Thurmond. Kevron says, go Saluda Tigers. Adrian says, Lewisville. Patrick says, what's up, guys? What's going on, Patrick? Bradley says, hello. What's going on, Bradley? Zach says, good evening, gentlemen. Clinton's Bryson James named the North-South today. I did see that. Also pick up an off North Greenville, too. Awesome for Bryson there. Trail says, Kevron lost a bet. Yeah, maybe so. Normally, Big Gray guy took a tough loss last week. Patrick says, on another note, what's up with John? No more Florida State, now Tennessee. John, you're all over the place here.
We got support where all our South Carolina boys go.
Kyle says, boo Tennessee, especially this week too, John.
Is that right?
Derek says, what's up, guys? Lakeview fell short. Still proud of the guys. They did. They fought tough. Couldn't quite pull it out. Arteo says, if you're not there for Saluda Thurmond, what you doing? Another huge matchup. John, you and Drill saw that one a few weeks back. Get a rematch this time over at Strom Thurmond this time, but let's keep going looking at our Kona games of the week, John. Let's start with the 1A action here. A really, really high-powered matchup. 2 teams with 1 loss each, and that's it. Lewisville at Christ Church. Lewisville 11-1, Christ Church 11-1. Lewisville defeated Denmark 43-18, averaging 41 on offense, 14 on defense. Christ Church blew out Calhoun County 63-29, averaging 44 on offense, 16 on defense, John. I mean, these teams are mirror images as far as, blow teams out, play really good defense. Who do you think has an edge here between the Lions and the Caps?
I think Christ Church is a little bit more tested. Mm-hmm. They came out of that region with St. Joe's and Southside Christian, probably the toughest region in all of 1A football. They have played some really, really good competition. Lewisville, their schedule, not that it's been necessarily easy, but a little bit lighter of a load. The best team they played all year was a very good 2A Andrew Jackson team. Mm-hmm. That's their only blemish on the regular season. And, of course, they have done a great job here in the first 2 rounds through the playoffs. They have taken care of business, done exactly what I think you would expect them to do in rounds 1 and 2. This is an awesome, awesome game. I think Christ Church is I thought they were the best team in 1A until they dropped the game there. But I still think Christ Church is a little bit better. They get to play at home. That helps. Mm-hmm. This is a really close game. I'm really not sure, how close of a game this is going to be. I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
I do
both
too.
teams are really good.
I do too. Lewisville led by quarterback Ian Grissom. They got playmakers over the field. The Fee kid is there. Gilcrease, Howes. DeAdrian Robinson had 130 and 2 touchdowns last week out wide for them. You mentioned their 1 loss. It's only an 8-point loss to Andrew Jackson, too. I mean, they got blown out. They played them very tight. On the Christ Church side, quarterback Woods Wyndham, 6 for 7 last week, $130, a slight work for him. Dash Reader's been a player of the week. He's had a great year for them. B.J. Atkins had 2 punt return touchdowns and a receiving touchdown last week for those guys. Defense led by Hornacek and Shaw. Their 1 loss was a blowout, 40-0 to Holy Innocents out of Georgia. obviously playing at home helps out a lot. I mean, this is going to be a magnificent ball game. I think this is going to be a last drive type thing, tight ball game. You know, maybe who makes the least amount of mistakes, who gets a big special teams play, something like that. I think the Lions and the Cavs are very evenly matched.
Yeah, I think we talk about special teams a lot. You know, you just read off all the playmakers that both of these teams have. I can't say one team is definitely more talented than the other, because I think they are very, very equal in that regard, and their best players are as good as the other side's best players. It could be a game decided by which side can make the bigger splash plays. You know, that could be the case here. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 13-7 game, or if it was 42-35.
Yeah,
I think it really could go either way. It's a really, really exciting matchup.
Yeah, I'm leaning a little more on the high scoring side, but like you said, I think it's very even. I'm going to lean Lewisville. I don't know why, but I'm leaning Lewisville. I like their explosiveness. But honestly, I love both teams. I mean, this could be literally for the state championship.
It really could.
It could be. These could be the two best teams in 1A play. Should be a fantastic ball game over there in Greenville on Friday night. A couple comments here. Move on to our next game. Dadrian says, let's go Lewisville. Greg says, go Abbeville. Dadrian says, only lost by 8 without our number 1 wide receiver to that Andrew team. That's a big play.
Good point.
Antonio Harrison. Antonio, what's going on, man? Good to have you back. Glad to see you playing and balling hard over there for the Panthers right now. Dadrian says, Lewisville's fast on offense, explosive on offense, full of playmakers, and defense is fast and physical. Yeah, defense has been good too, man. Like I said, averaging only 14 points a game. They're playing great on both sides there. Artavis says Saluda's been counted out ever since they lost his back-to-back games. Defense is clicking right now, offense is moving. It's going to be a great game for sure. And that actually leads into our next calling game of the week here, John. Saluda at Strom Thurmond. 2 10-2 teams. A rematch of a game from Week 7. The Strom won on the road 6-3. A last-second field goal. You and Drell were there. Saluda, a little bit of a surprise last week. I mean, you say it's an upset, but I mean, Saluda's a very good football team. They beat Gray 23-16. Strom Thurmond came back from a 6-0 halftime deficit to beat Strom Thurmond, beat Keenan 21-6 last week. I mean, the game was super close the first time around. Do you see a similar outcome this time, John, or do you think one team can create some separation there?
I think part 2 is going to be as good. Well, it's hard to beat what we saw the first time around. But I think it's going to be as close to the game. May not go to overtime or last second buzzer beater, but I think it will come down to the right now the last couple of drives of the fourth quarter. That game though, you look at the score, you go 6-3. Okay, one big play here or there could have changed the game. Yeah, both teams had a ton of big plays there.
Yeah,
there were I want to say 4 turnovers on each side. There were a lot of big plays, and that was an incredible thing. And I'm sure Jarrell talked about it too in the recap weeks ago. There was more excitement and more big plays in a 6-3 ball game than I think you can have.
Yeah.
I think this will be a slightly higher scoring game. I think we will see more than 1 touchdown. In this ball game, or more than
no touchdowns.
No touchdowns. More than 3 field goals. I think we'll see somebody get in the end zone in this ball game. I'm leaning Saluda in this game though, and the reason I say that is, you could argue on this side of the bracket, nobody was hotter than Gray.
Yeah.
And
they won 8 in a row, won the last week.
Gray had been playing really, really good football. They got the pedigree. They're the defending state champs. They know how to win big games. They know how to get to Columbia. And I was a little surprised, not surprised, but I was expecting Gray to win last week. And the fact that Saluda, not only did they win, they scored the last 15 points of this ball game to come back and win the game. That speaks volumes to me. I think Saluda, after that 6-3 game, I think a lot of people were going, Saluda's probably the better team. And then Strom Thurmond proved how good they were as they went on. They got healthy as well, even more healthy. I think Saluda is going to get revenge. We talk about it's so hard to beat a really good team twice in 1 year. I think Saluda gets a little revenge. I think this is going to be I see this game going Tigers' way. Very close game.
Yeah, Saluda averaging 30 on offense, 11 on defense. They've really kind of hit their stride when they moved the A-rank kid to quarterback. He's really been dominant for them. We talked about him last week. He's had a really, really good last couple of weeks. Tyler Mathis getting him more involved. Had 200+ and 3 touchdowns on the ground last week. He's a dynamic playmaker for those guys. Obviously, wide receivers Wright and Mobley are good players. I love that D line. I mean, they're so athletic and physical. They are great on that side. And you mentioned battling back. They were down early. I think 9-0 right off the bat there, John. They kept fighting last week. Coach Young did a great job keeping them in it, keeping those guys battling to come back and win. On the Strom Thurmond side, averaging 23 on offense, 9 on defense. The quarterback, Edmond, once he came back, they'd been hot. They'd been on a big streak there. Love watching Greg Bryant, really good player for them. The defense has been the calling card, though. I mean, that's what's made them go. Even last week, they shut down a good Keenan offense. I mean, held them to 6. That's very impressive there. They've won 10 in a row. I mean, this is an impressive squad here after losing their first 2 to win 10 in a row. They've been great. They keep getting healthy. They got Edmond back. They got a running back finally. Got a DB back finally. Got an O-lineman back finally. I mean, it's just a great matchup. We talked about it the first go-around. Coach Webb being the former Saluda OC just there last year. Now he's the head coach at Strom. I mean, such a weird dynamic there. I mean, Coach Webb and Coach Young are great friends. But I think you're right. I think Saluda may have figured something out. And I think the fact that they lost this game the first time around adds a little more motivation for them.
Big time.
I think I might lean Saluda too in a close one, even though they're on the road.
Yeah,
are we dumb for doing that? We might be stupid for doing that. I can see that being a clip right here after this week.
It could be, and the environment that was in Saluda for that first game was incredible. That was one of, if not the best environment I've been to all season this year, and one of the best in the state that I've ever been to.
Yeah,
it was tremendous. It was great, and you got to speak on Strom Thurmond too.
Yeah,
that team. I wouldn't say that their offense is awesome.
Yeah.
They turned the ball over a bit. They made some mistakes. Their defense is very, very good. Mm-hmm. But the best thing about that Strom Thurmond Rebel team, those guys are gritty.
Yeah.
Man, they are just tough. They make they're at the right place, the right time. It kind of reminds me of almost like the Gamecocks back when South Carolina Gamecocks when they had Connor Shaw. They had a really good defense. You look around and you go, man, there's some guys out here making plays. I don't expect to make plays.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Strom Thurmond is. It's 3rd and 6. They're getting 7 yards. A tough run where they're just fighting through. They're tough, and Saluda is too. I mean, this is just gonna be an awesome, awesome game. It can go either way, but yeah, I see this.
I think my thought process is both defenses are playing really good football right now. I think I trust Saluda's offense a little bit more with what they got going with Mathis and Arant there, but should be a phenomenal ball game down there at Strom Thurmond. A few more comments here from the second game. Let's see. We've got Cody saying, if y'all got a game pick for when you're going to Friday night, still working through that. I mean, obviously at this point, he said so many options. Every game is huge.
Throw a dart and
a
good game.
Drill says Saluda wins the rematch in a close one. Cam said, you heard him, 10 in a row for Strom Thurmond. Zach says Thurmond's defense isn't called the Blue Steel defense for no reason.
I like it.
Yep, they are playing great ball. Bradley says he thinks all the teams that lost in the regular season that are rematched this week, all the underdogs come out on top. Certainly could happen.
I could see that.
John, let's look now at our third calling game of the week, a 3A matchup, high-powered matchup. Daniel at Powdersville. Daniel at 12-0. Powdersville 11-1. Daniel coming off a 55-17 win over Woodruff. Powdersville thrashed Chester 42-12 last week on Thursday night. This game, 2 really high-powered offenses, averaging 51 for Daniel, 48 for Powdersville. Powdersville giving up 22, Daniel 11. John, this is a huge ball game here. One that we've kind of circled all year in the upstate. That this, one of the better matchups we're going to see in 3A. We feel like. Who do you like here between the Patriots and the Lions?
Give me a coin and let's flip it.
Yeah.
I think you look at Powdersville. You look at how much talent they have all over that field. Eli Hudgens, quarterback. Thomas Williams. They're excellent. They are excellent. They play good football. They're well coached. And what I love about Powdersville, what Coach Mosher has done there, look at the schedule they put together this year. They have been tested week in, week out of region, in region. They took care of business. And they played some really, really good teams. Daniel, their schedule wasn't as much of a test.
Yeah, that region doesn't really test them. I mean, and the region play is not their fault. Obviously,
yeah, there's nothing they can do about that. And even outside the region, it takes 2 to dance. You got to have someone agree to play you, So that's not all their fault either. But it doesn't matter. Talent, when you got talent, you got talent. We know how good Myson Kelly is. He's maybe the best player on the field, arguably. This is going to be a tremendous ball game. I can't pick against Daniel until they give me a reason to doubt I just can't do it. But if the crown tilts a little bit, it could be in this ball game about just how good Powdersville is, and especially how good they are on that offensive side of the ball. They are incredible.
Yeah, you look at Daniel, the quarterback, the Simon's kid was, kind of a worry spot coming into the year, replacing Thurmond. He's been great, completing like 70-plus tournaments past. I think he's got around 30 touchdowns, only like 4 or 5 picks, having a great year for them. Obviously, Myson Kelly mentioned him, that the Clemson commit's a stud, both sides of the ball, running, receiving, playing DB. Eli Merck, like he's been playing for 10 years now for them out wide. I think he's the Daniel all-time leading receiver now, which is pretty impressive. That's a big name coming through there.
He's like, if you're not familiar with Eli Merck and Daniel, picture like a smaller Brock Bowers, but for Daniel. That's what he reminds me of. You see this guy shrieking downfield. Nobody really wants to tackle him. Nobody can really cover him. He's just always seems to be open, catching the ball.
Yeah, I will say the offensive line was better than I thought it was going to be. They had the kid Watson Young go to IMG for a little bit. He came back, didn't stay. He came back to Daniel. They have him playing well. Also, Bryce Smith, the north-south guy, playing well on the offensive line for them. Defense led by Plumlee, Kahn, and Young. They're not as flashy as they were last year. I feel like, Brody Kahn and Griffin Batt were big names last year for them. These guys aren't as much household names, really. But they tackle well, create turnovers. And with that offense, they build such big leads. They can really pin their ears back and get after the other team, it seems like there. On the Powdersville side, led by running back DB Thomas Williams, the VT commit. Quarterback Eli Hudgens, a great player for them. Wide receivers Sloan and Huggins. Defense led by Jeffries and Lewis. A cool kind of storyline here is that Thomas Williams and Myson Kelly are cousins.
Yeah,
two of the better players in the state. It's really cool to see there. I think on the Powdersville side, you got to get out to a quick start. You need to get an early lead. You don't want to fall behind this Lions bunch. And I think, honestly, obviously Thomas Williams is a key for them on offense. I think he's a key on defense as well. He's going to have to either cover Merck or Kelly or somebody, and he needs a big game on that side of the ball for them. Obviously, not having Jalen Rambert is huge for the Patriots.
Big time.
Like to have him out there, but he's not obviously available in this game, so they need Jeffries and those guys to step up. And Harrison Jeffries been playing really well since he came back from injury there. On the Daniel side, I will say the one weakness I think they may have, just from looking at some stat lines, watching a couple clips here and there, is run defense.
Okay.
And against Powdersville, if Williams get loose, they've got a pretty big offensive line. They can run it pretty well. Not only Williams, but also, the quarterback.
Hudgens moves around very well. Too.
This is going to be a very tight ball game. I hope it lives up to the hype. But like you said, it's just so hard to pick against Daniel, 2-time defending 3A state champs. Until somebody knocks them off, it's hard to go against them. I think Powdersville has as good a shot as anybody has had in the past couple of years, honestly. But you got to go with the Lions just because, they've been there, they've done that, and they just are so efficient. They're so good right now. I'm going Lions and a squeaker on the road.
Yeah, I think it'd be close too. And I like the point that you make. You say Powdersville getting off to a quick start.
Mm-hmm.
I think just as important as that is, I don't think the Patriots necessarily have to score first,
mm-hmm.
but if they can get a stop or two early on Daniel and just give that defense confidence, give that team confidence, give the crowd something to get into and say, hey, we can stop these guys. Because it seems like every time we see Daniel play, even in the playoffs, even against Camden and Columbia last year, it's like they're going to score every time they touch the ball.
Yeah, they come out so efficient, first drive, touchdown, you're down 7-0. I think if you're Powdersville, you want the ball first, 100%.
Yeah, and so, you
see what happens.
You kind of see it on the opposite sidelines, too. The teams come in and play, and they got to be feeling good about themselves. Hey, okay, all right, we can stop these guys. And then that first drive, boom, they go right down the field. It's like, oh, boy, here we go. Now we got to score every
Welcome to the show, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. It should be a great ball game. That's what Greg said. It's going to be a good game. Zach says that Daniel stops the runner from Powdersville. Daniel wins. Zach said, Powdersville went to Hyatt Stadium week 1 and took down Abbeville. Can't ask for a tougher opponent. Yeah, that's a tough place to play, too. We were at that ball game. Great game there between Abbeville and Powdersville. Artavis has said, this has been one of the best playoffs in all areas, big upsets, and the prizes don't get any better than this. You're exactly right, Artavis. Most of these classifications have, 8+ teams we feel like they could have won it going into it. And it's been some great ball games all around.
And you're right. We've had some big names fall. Heck, we've only played 2 rounds and we've had some big names fall.
Yeah, Darren or Duran and Jarrell both say going with the Fairfield Central Griffins in the upset this week.
I don't hate that
We'll get to that game here in a little bit. We get to the 2A action. But, John, let's look now at our 4th corner game of the week. when you're just thinking about statewide schools, games across the whole state of South Carolina, there are not many bigger matchups than this, no matter what year it is. And that's the Byrnes Rebels and the Gaffney Indians. At the reservation on top of that, Byrnes 9-3, Gaffney 8-3. They just played back in week 10. Byrnes pulled off the win 30-21. That kind of really got the Byrnes team rolling. They played well since knocking off Hillcrest 2 weeks ago. They kind of played around a little bit and almost got messed up a bit likely, but beat them on a late field goal, 27-24, averaging 35 on offense, 19 on defense. Gaffney, on the other hand, a roller coaster season for those guys.
Yeah.
Started off losing to South Point, not looking good against Union. Losing to that Mallard Creek team you saw there. And they really kind of turned it on. They beat a good Spartanburg team. They beat a good Northwestern team. They beat Dorman. Played good football down the stretch. Won the region there, averaging 30 on offense, 21 on defense. On the Gaffney side, Grayson Loftus is, he's a star. I feel like he kind of gets overlooked sometimes, almost, you feel like, Had a big game last week for those guys, 3 touchdown passes. The running backs, the McDowell kid, the young one, is going to be a star. He's playing really good. Tate's playing well. Wide receiver Sugar Jeffrey's back has been huge for them. Amazing. Littlejohn out wide's been a great player. On defense, Nate Johnson, Brayshawn Littlejohn, the Mizzou commit, are really leading those guys. Do want to commend Coach Dan Jones, set the Gaffney record for wins last week at 120. Awesome for him there. On the Byrnes side, Colby Shaw at quarterback had almost 300 last week, 4 touchdowns. Livingston being back, the running back has been huge for them. Had almost 100 yards last week. Had over 100 against Hillcrest in round 1 there. Cook, Bomar, Weaver, so many weapons out wide. Defense with Good and Ferguson and Kanai Cook out there playing safety. Bomar playing DB. John, can Byrnes go on the road and win this one? They won at Nixon Field in week 10. Can they go to the reservation and do it again? Or does Gaffney come out with the win moving on to round 4?
If you look at, if you didn't watch any game that either one of these teams played, and you kind of look at who both sides have, you look at the rosters and you go, if you know anything about the reservation, and we talked about this a little bit this afternoon, this is got to be the biggest playoff game at the reservation in the last 10 years.
Yeah, biggest since
the way the
2012 when they played Byrnes in the semifinal would have been the last big one up until this one. So I'm expecting a nuts crowd.
Certainly a packed house at the reservation. You put all that down and you look at it and you go, Byrnes doesn't really have a whole lot of a chance here. But we don't have to do that. We have seen these teams. We get to see them in person, see them in action. We saw Byrnes early in the season.
Yep.
We've seen them late in the season.
Yep.
I think we got 2 different ball clubs on our hand. They look very, very good 2 weeks ago in Simpsonville against Hillcrest there. And the big thing, what I love about this Byrnes team, what they're doing here late in the year, one, they got R.J. Livingston back and healthy. He looked fresh in that first round game, played an awesome game. And what I love about Coach Shaw and what he's done, especially with this offense, he's just putting the ball in his playmaker's hands.
Yeah.
We saw Bomar in some key points of that Hillcrest game playing quarterback.
Yep.
And making plays. They do a great job of putting the playmakers in positions to make big plays. The defense has grown up a bit.
Yeah.
They got hit with the injury bug early on. They've done some growing up during reach and play, and they've gotten better and better and better as they've gone. I can't go against Gaffney at the reservation in this kind of ball game. I got to lean the Indians. But if Byrnes wins this game, I'm not going to be that surprised because they've been playing so doggone well lately and playing just as a cohesive unit. And defensively, they're doing well. We saw them on special teams.
Making plays.
They forced a bad hold on an extra point that turned out to be pretty big. And they also, or a field goal.
Yep.
Sorry, not an extra point, a field goal. And then they also got a big-time fumble recovery on a kickoff in that Hillcrest game as well. They're doing everything you need to be doing at this time of the year to get to Columbia.
Yeah.
Boy, this is you can't get much tougher than what they got here on Friday night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what worries me about Byrnes is that the last 2 weeks they jumped out to big leads early, and they let the other team come back. And at some point, that's going to bite you in the butt. They had a real chance to lose that game to Blythewood last week. Blythewood got a fumble inside, I think, the 5 with a couple minutes to go, down 3, had to settle for a field goal. Byrnes comes back and kicks the field goal to win the game. They could have lost that. Hillcrest got the ball 1st and 10 at Byrnes' 26-yard line with about 5 minutes to go, chance to tie or take the lead. They could have lost either one of those ball games there. You can't do that against the Gaffney team. You can't get up big. If you get up big, you better keep the pedal to the metal there. And I think, looking at this rivalry, these Gaffney guys know better than I do. I feel like it usually goes with the home team. At Nixon Field, Byrnes tends to win. At the reservation, Gaffney tends to win. I think the Indians are playing too tough right now. I think the reservation at the reservation, I think the Indians win this ball game. Just too much firepower. They're probably upset about that loss in Week 10. A little extra motivation there for those guys. I like Gaffney to win this game at home.
I think it's going to be a really, really close game too, though.
Should be a lot of fun. A couple comments here. Cody says, crowd-wise, Gaffney Byrnes will be the best crowd out of all the 3-round 3 playoff games. Really good chance. Probably the biggest crowd, I would say. No doubt about it. Cody says, what are your thoughts on the other freshman back, number 29, Smith? I haven't seen him a ton yet. I've seen more of McDowell. But the highlights I've seen, he does look really good. The Smith kid does as well. Zach says he bets Thurmond Saluda crowd will be great as well.
Yes,
it will, no doubt about it.
It will.
Patrick says y'all have to come. We're talking about Patrick. There's so many good options, man. It's hard to decide what to do there. Michael says go Holly Hill Raiders on Friday and go Vols on Saturday. Thanks for covering high school football. Appreciate you, Michael. I like Holly Hill's chances a lot. We'll get to that 8-man playoff game in a little bit. I think the Raiders roll in that one. Let's see. Patrick says give me Gaffney -6. Bradley says Gaffney is where y'all need to be. Patrick says they come out and sweep the field. It will be a bad deal. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there in this one. It should be a great ball game. And now, John, our 5th and final calling game of the week, our SCISA game of the week just got word. This one actually has moved to Saturday, 1 o'clock at West Florence High School. That's PD Academy and Florence Christian for the 3A state title. We just saw this game back in Week 10 as well. PD throttled those guys 40-14. They defeated Pinewood 42-27 last week. Florence Christian defeated Wilson Hall 19-17 last week. Wilson Hall missed a late field goal. Florence Christian really goes as far as Jules Huntley goes, the running back. He's had a big game, had I think $169 and 2 touchdowns last week. Also plays DB for them. PD, we know the quarterback Hudson Spivey, one of the best around, had 4 touchdown passes last week, 20 for 27, 243. Also ran for a touchdown at 66 yards. Colby Sinclair ran for 134 and a touchdown and caught 2 touchdowns and 67 yards receiving there. Richardson and Trussell out wide. Defense led by Oakley, Tyler, and Rouse. Florence Christian's playing a little better. I mean, you have to be to get to this point in the season. But this is a team that just got, beat by 26 points a couple weeks back, John. Have they made that much of a turnaround, or are the Golden Eagles the favorite, who you think, on Saturday?
Yeah, I think Florence Christian is better than what that game a couple weeks ago. They can play better than that. And I expect them to play a little bit better than that. Mm-hmm. But PD's the better team. Yeah. And I don't think it's super close. I think this could be a 10 to 14 point ball game. But Spivey at quarterback, to me, that's the difference maker. He's probably the best player on the field. He's got to be the best player on the field. He's your quarterback. I like that being a difference maker for PD in this game. Yep. I like PD. Yeah, I think for Florence Christian, they've got to have Huntley get going on the ground. Honestly, obviously, you never want to say you don't want him to break a long touchdown run, but you almost need to just ground the ball out and kind of keep that clock rolling, limit the time of possession for PD. I think that would be a huge key for Florence Christian there. You also need him to play big on defense. He's got to play some corner for you. He's got to guard Trussell, Richardson, and Sinclair, and those guys need him to play well on that side of the ball. On the PD side, I think just Spivey is just too much. They've been there before. They played for state a couple of years ago, back-to-back years. I think it was, could not quite make it happen. But Spivey now is a multi-year starter. He's got everything under control. He knows what he's doing. He's so versatile, running and throwing. I think the Golden Eagles have too much firepower. I think they win this game, but should be a fun matchup on Saturday over at West Florence High School. Yeah, and good on SCISA for moving this game a little bit closer for both schools. I know they have a history of doing that. Great move on their part. Yep. West Florence has a great new facility. So that should be a nice, easier drive for the PD and the Florence Christian guys. No doubt about it. Everybody will know that. Yeah, for sure.
So a couple more comments here. Jarrell says, if Gaffney wins on Friday, there might be a bigger game on the horizon. Yeah, if they win Friday, that next round 4 game could be pretty massive as well. But
and I hope that whoever wins that game comes out clean.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this last year where, you know, you get to this point, particularly we saw it in the 5A bracket. You get down to upper state, lower state weekend, and you got some teams that are pretty beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, me personally, you got everybody's playing football.
Oh yeah,
everybody's getting hit, everybody's getting tackled, everybody's a little bit injured and hurt. I don't like that as an excuse, but I do hope whoever wins this game Friday at the reservation, I do hope they can come into next week 100%.
No doubt. Cody says, just know if y'all do choose Gaffney Byrnes, he'll be there with 2 cowbells on each hand, ringing them off. I love it, man. I love bringing out the awesome. Cowbells some big ones there. So our Kona games of the week, to recap, we had Lewisville at Christchurch, Saluda at Strom Thurmond, Daniel at Powdersville, Byrnes at Gaffney, and our SCISA game of the week is PD Academy versus Florence Christian for the 3A state title, John. But I mean, we talked about it all week long, trying to decide which ones are the games of the week. They're all huge, man. We could have picked any game this up. They're all massive. But let's give a quick shout out to our friends here before we start looking at the other games in the brackets in SCHSL playoffs. Security Advantage Federal Credit Union, they offer much lower loan rates and don't charge the fees other banks do. Whatever your personal journey, they're to offer you smart financial solutions. Join today at SecurityAdvantageSU.com, SecurityAdvantageSU.com. Win and banking direct life member NCUA. The Georgia agency serving the Carolinas for 40 years. Open enrollment is here. Check them out now. If you don't have insurance for your company or something like that, maybe you're a seasonal worker or something like that, give them a call. Bradley Lerner from the crew, GeorgiaC.net can help you out there. Kona offers a synergistic approach to the spine, skeletal system, nervous system, and supporting structure and total quality care for optimal health. Kona.care, that's Kona.care. And then our stock up, stock down by Founders Federal Credit Union. See how Founders membership can enable a transfer game. Training financial skills, a wide array of financial tools and services. Relax on Founders.com today. See if you qualify. Relax with Founders Federal Credit Union. And then Hanna Engineering, our pick'em, brought to you by those guys. John, do you want to start with 5A this week or start down at 1A? Or what do you want to do as we roll through what's left in the brackets here?
You know what, let's go with 5A. I see we got someone asking about something Somerville, so let's start in 5A.
Yep. A couple more comments while we roll through here. Cody says, so hypothetically speaking, if round 4 comes down to Gaffney Dutch Fork, we'll come without a doubt to that one. It'll be reservation. Man, we don't know. We always play week by week. We play week by week to see what the best option is. Jeff says they're at Fort. They put. Hold on, I lost it. Sorry. We at Fort put it on Dutch Fork. I don't know how Green played. Michael says Woodland versus Oceanside. What do you guys think? Also, Somerville. We'll get something to Somerville in just a second. Woodland and Oceanside. I'm leaning to Oceanside. I'll tell you that right now. Get to Somerville here in a second.
I'm not leaning. I'm falling over. Oceanside.
Oceanside is a good play. I got some notes on those guys when we get to that ball game, but definitely stay tuned for that one here in a minute, Michael. Let's look here at the 5A bracket, John, and we'll kind of work our way down from there.
Yeah, we'll start on the lower state side of the bracket, switch it up a little bit. We got Somerville making the trip up to Sumter on Friday night. Sumter's been good all year.
Yeah.
They've been great all year. They have, I thought, a little bit closer game last week than I expected. They beat Cane Bay 19-7.
Down 7-0 early in that one.
Somerville, on the other hand, I thought their playoff run was going to end last week.
I did too.
They invited Lexington to come down, and boy, they beat the brakes off the Wildcats.
Yeah.
Beat them 35-13 to roll in this ball game. And that makes me very nervous about this one for Sumter.
Now, I will say, don't forget, we saw this matchup early in the regular season. Sumter shut them out 16-0 at home, where they get them again this week. And Somerville, a little banged up, had a couple running backs go down, a couple defensive guys last week. Not sure if they're playing or not. Obviously, they need a big game from McMurray and Yannick Smith and the running back there. I can't remember his name. I'd say Drummond, but it's not Drummond. Anyway, they need a big game from those guys if he's able to play. On the Sumter side, I think they go as far as Zaire Gamble. That has been my guy all year for them. Got to get him involved in the the running game, receiving game, return game, whatever. Getting the ball in his hands. I'm going Sumter because I trust their health a little bit. They're a little healthier right now, I feel like. I'm going Sumter at home to beat Somerville. But the Green Wave, Coach Rafferty, you're doing a great job building the program back up. But I still like the Gamecocks a little bit in this one.
I think they win a close ball game, a close, low-scoring ball game. I think Somerville gets on the board, though, this time.
Yeah,
I don't think this is a 16-0 shutout. I think this is a tight, one-score game. I don't know that either team scores 20 in this one, but I see Sumter winning by just a little bit because of the health of the Gamecocks compared to the Green Wave. I think it's going to be a great ball game.
Yes. Two kind of mirror images teams I like. Really good defense, needs some special teams plays. Offense not the best, but I like this game a lot.
And especially getting it at home too.
Yep.
That's a big factor for those guys. On the bottom side of the bracket, we've got Carolina Forest gets to host Fort Dorchester. Or actually, no, this game will be in Fort Dorchester. Because they are a region champ.
Yep.
Carolina Forest going down to Fort D. Carolina Forest blows out Goose Creek last week, 55-28. Fort Dorchester blanks Berkeley 46-0. Zoltan Osborne back for Fort Dorchester. Huge factor for those guys. Carolina Forest, boy, they bursted on when the playoffs started.
May not be a hotter team right now.
Maybe not. I thought River Bluff would beat them in the first round. They beat them by 2 scores.
Yep.
Beat them 42-28. That, to me, was a big deal because we saw River Bluff play. I'm very high on the Gators. I thought they were a very good team, and they didn't get out round 1. Very impressed with Carolina Forest. They get the offense going very well. I don't know if they got enough to beat Fort Dorchester, though.
Yeah, Scott Sayer, the quarterback, is just balling right now. Had 6 touchdowns last week, set the record for Carolina Forest touchdowns. I can't remember his career or season, but either way, playing great ball under Coach Morris there. Fort D, though, like I said, is healthy now. Zoltan Osborne's back. The Martin kid's playing well. Small's playing well. Trey Ryan out wide for those guys. They're playing great football at home, especially. I think a shootout here, John. I really do. I like Fort D's defense a little bit better. But Carolina Forest, man, it's in the playoffs especially. It's not always who's better. It's maybe who's hotter.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that offense is going to be tough. But I'm going Fort D in a close one here at home.
And Carolina Forest, they typically have reservations early on for the lower state championship in 5A. They have been there very, very often. Then usually the last team Dutch Fort plays before they get to the Weekend of Champions. So would not be surprised to see the Panthers turn on again here late in the year. But I agree with you. I like Fort Dorchester by a little bit in this one. But I could see this being 56-49.
Yeah.
This could be a really, really exciting ball game. As we flip to the upper state side of the bracket. So we talked about Byrnes Gaffney at length here just previously. Winner of that game will get the winner of Spartanburg going down to Dutch Fort. Another rematch.
Yep.
Now, this was a Dutch Fort team that was injured, did not have their quarterback, but it was a 2-point ball game at Spartanburg High early in the season. We know Spartanburg is very good. Love Raheem Jeter playing quarterback. I love Coach Hodge running the program for the Vikings. I just don't see Spartanburg able to win this game though Friday.
Yeah, this is a game, first time around, Dutch Fork had to make a last-second field goal to win, too. They were losing that ball game there. But this is a much better Dutch Fork team. Appler was out back then. They didn't have a quarterback situation settled. Jarvis Green ran for 300 yards in that game because he had to. He was the only option. But now they got Appler back. They got Hamilton out wide playing great. Green, I feel like, is averaging $150 on the ground and 100 yards receiving the pass by 3 points. He's just killing it right now, setting all kinds of records. He had a 6-touchdown game or 7-touchdown game, whatever it was, a couple weeks back to set the Dutch Fork record. Unreal what he's doing. But the defense, John, Danley, Perry, Hinton, playing great on that side of the ball, been great all year long. I think that defense is better than they were at that game, at that game. I think the offense is better than it was at that game. I think Dutch Fork wins this one at home too. I think they're just on a different level right now. Nothing against Spartanburg. Coach Hodge doing a great job. Jeter's playing well. Danton, the running back, the freshman Kelly's a really good player for them. I like him a lot. But I think Dutch Fork is just on a roll. I think they win this game at home.
And Appler's been playing good football.
He has.
At the beginning of the year, it was, I thought, maybe the quarterback position is a little bit of a weakness, but he's playing very good now as well. He seems to be in the groove. I agree with you. I think the Silver Foxes are they're destined for the upper, this is going to be cool to see if they are able to win, to see a Dutch Fork upper state championship.
And what's funny too, Dutch Fork's getting a real taste of upper state. Obviously we think the biggest or the toughest upper state five region is one with Byrnes, Dorman, Gaffney, Spartanburg. If they make it to the state final, they will have beaten Dorman, Spartanburg, and either Gaffney or Byrnes all in a row to get there. So they will have certainly earned it this year if they get to that point.
And that's a huge testament to, I think that's Region 2. 5A.
Yes.
That's a huge testament to that region. We talk about it a lot. We got a ton of guys on here that come on and talk about how good that region is. And boy, if you need any proof, there it is right there.
Yeah.
You want to go to the state championship, you got to beat every single
all
one
of us.
of them.
Yeah, all of us. A couple comments. Jamie says Clinton Chapman. We'll get to that one here in a minute. 3A, Jamie. Should be a great ball game there. Jeffrey says, still no word on some real running backs. Yeah, that help we're not sure about. Jarrell says, only Gamecocks to win this week is Sumter. Oh, wow. Talking a little trash here in the chat. Jeffrey says, he's worried about Carolina Forest. Where do they come from against the Creek? Yeah, I think Goose Creek, honestly, John, as a team, a little bit of fool's gold. They didn't win a non-region game all year.
Yeah.
We got hot in the region. I don't think they were quite as good as that record was. I think that region was a little bit down, honestly, there for them.
I was more impressed with the River Bluff win than I was the Goose Creek.
Yeah, very true, very true. Cody says, honestly, think if it comes down to that, round 4 game, people are on Gaffney that don't support either team will come to watch that one. It will be a huge game. If we get Gaffney don't support, will be huge. No doubt about it. Cody says Sumter 16, Somerville 13.
Yeah, I can see that.
Jeff says not beating Dutch Fork at home. Yeah, that's where I'm kind of leaning to. Cody says, Sumter 17-13 over Somerville. Well, he's picking. John says Byrnes 38-28 over Gaffney.
Ooh.
Also picks Spartanburg 21-10 over Dutch Fork.
Ooh.
Cody says he misses the Big 16. Yeah, those different days back then. They had some great matchups back in those days, no doubt about it. Crowley says that John guy's been smoking again, if you know this. Not you, but the other John guy. I love it. I love it. But let's look now, John, at some 4A action. Another just great ball games, man.
Yeah,
I can't say it enough.
And these are some games where, again, I wish I could split myself off and go to these games because I don't know. I love all these teams that are playing. I love 4A and the way that's come together, but I don't know who to pick here. Starting in the lower state, we've got AC Florida will be hosting West Florence. Two very similar teams, the way that they are put together. Want to run the football, got a lot of talent in the backfield for both of these teams. Really, really good ball clubs. AC Flora put on more of a display last week than I expected, being Hartsville 53-34. West Florence beat one of the hottest teams in 4A last week, beating Myrtle Beach 42-21. They took care of business there. This is a great ball game. I'm leaning AC Flora because of Townsend and Lofton.
Yeah,
I love both of those guys, what they can do with the football in their hands. I think they got just one more playmaker than what the Knights do. And I think that could be the difference in this one.
Yeah, like I said, kind of mirror. They both want to run the ball a lot. Deuce Hudson, the quarterback for South Florence, just went over 1,000 rushing yards for the year. So he's got 1,000 passing and rushing, along with Darren Lloyd had a huge year, had a 300-plus game a couple weeks ago. Actually, he's had 2 300-plus games out of the last 3, I think it is, actually. So he's killing on that side of the ball. AC Flora, obviously, Markel Townsend, 200-plus almost every week, it seems like. It might come down to who can impose their will. Both teams want to run it. AC Flora wants to run it up front. Kim Floyd's got a big offensive line there for him in his first year. Townsend's a great player. West Florence mentioned what they do with Coach Generette there. So, I think both teams want to run it. Who can enforce their will, and then maybe what quarterback can hit one big play? Is that Carew Bates for AC Flora hitting Lofton on a deep route? Is it Deuce Hudson breaking a big run? Whatever it is. But one team is going to need some kind of play that's not a run, I feel like, to win this ball game. So it should be a great ball game, I think, over there.
Could be a big punt or kick return.
Could be.
Well. We've seen what Lofton can do. Fielding punts.
Yep, he took one back in the game we saw last year against Greenville, and then we saw West Florence running back against South Florence, a kickoff return. So
right.
Both teams very talented on that side. Kelvin Hunter on defense for Kelvin Hunter and Frank Emerson for West Florence are going to have to play big on that side. They got to somehow get Townsend on the ground early. I'm going to lean AC Flora at home. I think these are two very evenly matched football teams, honestly, John. I'm going to go AC Flora at home.
I agree. And it'll be interesting to see what both of these two teams do on kickoffs and punts.
Yes. Do you just kick it short every time, honestly? Out of bounds.
Out of bounds, I'm thinking. Kickoffs maybe a little pooch or, just keeping it away from those guys, knowing how dangerous they are. That'll be a very interesting game. That's going to be a fun game with some. That could be a high-scoring game, but you're going to see some big plays in that one, no matter what, I think. On the lower side of the bracket, you'll have James Island going up against South Florence. James Island's made a great run in the playoffs. Yeah. They've been playing awesome defense all year. Had a really close game against Thurmond last week, winning that game 24-22.
Closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, a little bit closer than I thought. I was surprised Irma scored 22 on them. I'm glad to see South Florence is going up against a really good defense. I think that's going to test them and be very good for them. However, I don't see that James Island offense being able to score enough against South Florence to win this ball game. I don't know that it's really that close either.
Yeah, these are two of the better defenses in all of 4A. You know, Walker, Woodall, and those guys on the Trojan side are great. On the South Florence side, you got guys like Davis and Moore and Prue and Rhodes. They're held teams to 12 points a game. I think James Island is at like 100 and something, so they're probably at under 10 points a game now. I feel like it was
83 in the regular season, 14 against York, so we're at 90. So Irma broke them over the 100-point mark.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, those two defenses are great. Wooshie Ravenel for James Island just went over 1,000 yards receiving for them. The Nixon kid at quarterback's playing great. The Scott guys running the ball are playing great. I felt better about James Island before that game last week, I'll tell you that.
I did too.
And, I mean, obviously we say every win in the playoffs is good, and that's very true. But I was surprised about that score at home. South Florence continues to roll. And Lenore Sellers is just a different type of player. I mean, he could be the best in the state, up for debate, but he's certainly one of the top ones. I think we're going to get a close game here, actually.
Okay.
I think James Island has something to prove. I think, Coach McCoy will have them figured out there. I like South Florence in a close one, but could be a low-scoring battle here between the Trojans and the Bruins.
Okay. You thinking close, one-score game, 10-point game?
10. I'm going to go 10. Maybe like 27-17.
Okay.
Somewhere in that ballpark, maybe.
I hope so. That would be nice. That'd be great. We go to the other side of the bracket. Greenville will be hosting Catawba Ridge. Copperheads, another team that has gotten hot. They've been playing good all year, but playing really, really well now. They blew out Riverside in the first round, and then really pulled away from North Augusta last week. 37-14 win.
A 7-point ball game in the fourth quarter, and they pulled away.
Just gassed it. Greenville, on the other hand, a very good game against South Point last week, 24-20. They led the whole game. It got tighter in the second half, and then Greenville just made a few more plays, and South Point was able to make. Greenville, I love the way they've been playing.
Yeah.
Their out-of-region schedule kind of put them off of people's radar. Not us. We know how good they are. We know how much talent they have, how motivated they are.
Yep.
Talking to those guys after the game last week, you could tell they didn't forget last year against South Point. They wanted that game bad. And these guys know they're good enough to go all the way. They know it. You can tell. They're not saying it. They're saying all the right things, but we know they know that they're good enough to make it. I think they're going to win this game. I think part of it is, 1, their talent, 2, their attitude. Yeah.
This is a game, I felt like Greenville, if they make any mistakes, they're going to lose. I think Catawba Ridge is just such a well-coached team. They run the ball well. They play solid defense. They're not going to turn it over a ton. Like, if you make some mistakes, like last week we saw Greenville a couple times going forward on fourth down, did not convert, had a couple mistakes there. If they do that again, I like the Copperheads to win this game. That South Point team that Greenville beat by 4 last week, Catawba Ridge handled pretty easily in the regular season. It's going to be a fun game. I like the Fickus guy and Jones for Catawba Ridge, what they're doing there. They're playing great ball on their side. Greenville, obviously, Drummond and Bennett and Brown. I would feel better if we had Pepper or Sherman back running the ball for Greenville.
That's a
concern
point
there. Big concern there for me with that one. I mean, you don't forget, this Catawba Ridge team, their one loss to Northwestern, and that was a game they led 17-0. They could have easily won that football game. I'm going to go out on a limb. I would hit the Copperheads to win this one close. Sneaky upset here, if you can call a game in round 3 an upset. I'm going to go Catawba Ridge, close one, but that's going to be a phenomenal 4A ball game.
Do we know are we sure Pepper and Sherman?
I'm not sure. I've not seen a report either way. I don't think they're back, but I don't know that for a fact.
It didn't look. We were looking last Friday. We didn't even see Pepper dressed. Yeah. So that's not a good sign. He's not dressed last week. You think it's a long shot for him to be able to play this Friday too. But fingers crossed. Love to see those guys as close to full power as you can get. I think it's going to be a great game.
I mean,
either way.
This Catawba Ridge team, they've been kind of thriving in an underdog role all year long. You know, we talked to Coach Lindak in an interview. We said, hey, Coach, you know, going into the year, you guys lost some guys to graduation, had some guys transfer out. You weren't really on anybody's radar. Did y'all use that as motivation? He said, hell yeah, we did. I mean, and they've been doing it all year. I mean, this is a team that's 10-1. I guess, now 10-1 now, or 11-1 maybe actually after 2 playoff. Yeah, 11-1. And, you know, they didn't get in the top 5 of the polls for half the year. I mean, this is a really good football team. They're thriving in this kind of underdog role. They'll have it again this week on the road at Greenville. I think the Copperheads in the close one, but it should be a phenomenal ball game there.
Yeah, it should be great. And whichever team wins, boy, they got a lot of momentum.
Yes.
Because if you're Catawba Ridge and you knock off Greenville, that is big-time marquee.
Yep.
And same for Greenville. If they beat a hot Catawba Ridge team. And to beat 2 teams out of York County, back-to-back sweeps would be really big at South Point, Catawba Ridge.
Yeah.
That'd be great. On the lower side of that bracket will be West Side and Northwestern. A West Side team that has just been lighting up the scoreboard all season long. And they played some close games.
Yep.
They had a close one in the first round, a 10-point win over Midland Valley. And then last week, a very exciting game with Indialand winning that game 39-35.
Score with, I think, 3 seconds left to win that ball game, a run by Puckett.
West Side, we know how good that offense is. They move the ball very well. Quarterback play is very strong. The thing that just worries me about the Rams is the defense.
Yeah.
We saw them play Greenville, and it was just it lacks some intensity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you compare it, it's almost like the opposite of that Saluda defense.
Yeah.
You know, that Saluda defense is super aggressive. West Side defense need more out of them. And what scares me in this matchup is the physicality that they're going to see from the Northwestern Trojans. You got, Thurmond Richard on that side of the ball, a big body, and they're just a big team. Yeah. They play big. I think that's going to be a problem for West Side. I think they're well matched up. I think they got the talent to win this ball game. I just don't think they do. I think Northwestern is going to grind them down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the physicality of the Trojans is going to be the difference in this ball game.
Yeah, Northwestern's playing great football. You know, a 50-0 win over Greenwood last week. Very impressive. You know, I thought they would score a lot. I didn't think they shut out Greenwood, but they did play great. You know, Finley Polk, I think, threw 5 touchdowns. I've said it for a while now. If he doesn't turn the ball over, the young quarterback, if he holds on to it, makes smart decisions, they're going to be very, very tough to beat. You know, Richard is going to get his 150 plus on the ground. Elijah Caldwell out wide is going to have a big game if something stupid doesn't happen. And the defense is playing well for them too. They've got guys at every level playing great football there for Coach Walford. West Side, I love Coach Early. He's a great offensive coach. The defense has been kind of the struggle all year, like you said, John. And I don't think it gets any better this week. West Side will need to score probably 45 to win this game, which they certainly can do it. But I think the Trojans' defense is a little too tough. I like Northwestern to win this game, move on to the upper state final.
I could see this being a 10 to 14 point ball game. Mm-hmm. I think Northwestern, their offense does have to be good.
Yep.
If they do turn the ball over and they give West Side more chances with the ball than the script is written.
Yep.
That could be a problem because West Side they are going to put up some points.
Yep.
You don't want to give them the ball any more than what is on schedule. You don't want to give them any extra possessions there. But I think Northwestern takes care of business. This is a new quarterback for the Trojans, but this team is got a lot of experience around him, and that's going to I think that's going to be very beneficial for them in this game too.
Yeah, a couple comments. Jeffrey says if Beaufort loses, they are slow. We'll get it out in here in a minute in 3A. Justin says James Island, so they'll prove they're the best teams in the state Friday. Yeah. Cody says people are sleeping on Northwestern. He says state will be Northwestern and South Florence AC Flora. John says Fort Dorchester over Carolina Forest. Jeffrey says don't know if Carolina Forest is playing good ball. Don't think they have the attention for sure. Dion says Lewisville's here to stay. Crusher's Lewisville game of the year. Yeah, if you missed that, Dion, check out the beginning of the show. We broke down that one of our games of the week. Go tune in for that at the beginning of the show once we get done here. Justin says James Allen will show him. Jeffrey says still have nightmares from Irmo in 1980. Yeah, Irmo used to be a tough squad, man. And they're getting back there. Coach Brand's doing a great job with that program. John makes more predictions. Has Somerville over Sumter. Michael says best of luck to South Florence coach Drew Marlowe and coach Sean Armstrong, both Sumter guys, great guys. Yeah, love Coach Marlowe. He's been super nice to us. We talked to him. He's been a great guy to interview and have on for sure. Zach says he'll take James Island as an upset. I love it.
Okay.
Robert says, what's up, gentlemen? Robert, good to have you on, man. appreciate you putting us in that Barnwell video. That was great to have.
That was really cool. Really cool.
Thanks for that. Congrats to the Warhorses on a big win. It should be a fun game again this weekend. John, Chris, Northwestern, Greenville about to win. Chris, what's up? Chris, good to have you on, buddy. Appreciate you. Byrnes, Gaffney, a huge one again. Cody says 5A Final Four. Gaffney Dutch Fort D Sumter. 4A Final Four, Greenville, Northwestern. Flora, South Florence. John picks Daniel. And he picks Powdersville. Says, who do we have? Byrnes, Gaffney. We both worked that one down in our games of the week. Go back to the beginning of the show. We're both leaning Gaffney in a close one at home. Should be a great matchup there. Should be a good one. Trent says, who do y'all have in Daniel, Powdersville? Also one of our games of the week. We just broke that one down. When we get done the show, go back to the beginning. You can check it out. Go listen to that one. We both leaned Daniel in a close one, but should be a fun ball game there. And honestly, could go either way, we feel like. George says, what about Barnwell? We'll get to the 2A here in a second. We'll get caught up with that. Donald says he likes Powder and Daniel is strong. Yes, they certainly are. Terrell says, what about Woodland Oceanside? We're leaning Oceanside. We'll get to 2A here in a minute. We'll break that one down, but we both like the Land Sharks there. Robert says Barnwell Punchers. Jordy says Johnsonville Lamar. Jordy, good to have you here, buddy. That is almost one of our games of the week. It's a huge 1A ball game there. 2 1A Power traditional schools of Johnsonville Lamar. I'm going to go with Johnsonville in a close. We'll break that down here more in a minute in 1A. But, John, let's take a look here at 3A, and then we'll kind of slowly work our way down to 2A and 1A. But let's take a look at the 3A bracket before I keep reading comments all night long.
So on the lower state side of the bracket, we've got a rematch of last year's lower state championship game.
Yep.
It will be Dillon against Camden. Really good ball game last year. It was 13-7, 13-6 ball game.
Yep.
Camden won that game.
Camden in that one.
This game, I think it's going to go Dillon's way. Dillon has been excellent all season long, running the ball extremely well, playing great defense. And the story for the Nasty Cats this year has been when they come out for the second half, boy, strap in because they come out for blood.
Yeah.
They have been incredible in second half of all games this year. I think they roll in this one.
Yeah.
The Camden defense is good enough to keep this ball game competitive.
Yep.
But I can see Dillon having control of this ball game from start to finish.
Yeah, and a key thing here too, Camden quarterback Grayson White went out early last week, came back in late to led them to a touchdown drive to win the game, but not sure his health status still. He may not be 100% in this one. Obviously, Dillon wants to run the ball. Ty Martin, McCollum, even Oxnard, the quarterback, want to run it right up the gut behind Thompson. Camden's got that D-line, McLeod and Jones.
Yeah.
They can stuff it there. We'll see how that goes, but I like the Dillon defense to hold Camden down a little bit. I think if Dillon can score 24 or 28 points, they win this game. I think the Wildcats win, but this is always a heavyweight matchup. On the road this is at Camden, correct?
Yes, it should be at Camden the way the bracket has worked out.
Yes, this game is at Camden. Always tough to play at Zimp, but I still like Dillon here in a close one. It should be a phenomenal ball game between 2 3A powers in lower state football.
Absolutely. Certainly, and I was a little bit worried about Dillon. I thought they would have a little bit bigger of a margin of victory against Brooklyn Casey last week. I think Camden is certainly a little bit better than BC, but I think Dillon still. I like the Wildcats in this one.
Yep.
On the lower side of the bracket, we'll have Beaufort will be hosting Gilbert.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I thought Crestwood was going to be able to pull the upset last week.
They had a heck of a chance.
Nearly did it. A game that was high scoring. I didn't think it was going to be high scoring. 45-42. Gilbert did a really good job against a main team that had been playing pretty hot. Beat those guys 42-14. Boy, I'm taking Beaufort because it's at home. Yeah. And they have been playing good defense. Outside of last week, they have been playing good defense. Crestwood's a really, really good ball team. I like Beaufort because they're at home. I'm hesitant to say they're the better team, but I like that they get to play this game at home. And I'm also keeping in my mind, this is a team that won 4A lower state last year.
Yes, it is.
And they're in 3A this year. I think that's got a lot to be said for. I like Beaufort in a close ball game, but I can be talked out of it. I can be talked out of it pretty easy.
Yeah, Casey Fields is a stud at running back. He's been playing great ball for those guys for Coach Lyburn once they moved him to that spot. He's been killing it. But then Gilbert just rolling, man. Talk about a team wants to run the ball. Elias Graham, Woodbury, J. Allen Hendricks, that's all they want to do. Coach Leaphart I think if he wins this week, I think he will either tie or set the record for Gilbert career wins. So
Okay.
big game there for the Indians. I like the Gilbert run and attack. I think they win this game. In the playoffs, when it gets cold, we always say defense travels and run game travels. Gilbert's got a heck of a run game. I'm going with the Indians on the road to win this one.
I like that. And it should be great football weather this weekend. It should be low.
No rain.
Now
We're
the lower
praying for
state maybe close to the 60s. It should be perfect fall football weather. We go on the upper state side of the bracket. One of our games of the week we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Powdersville Daniel at the top side of that bracket.
Check it out at the beginning of the show when we get done here. It'll be at the beginning. Go check that out.
Winner of that game will play for the upper state championship against the winner of Chapman and Clinton. Another rematch from this year. Clinton got the better end of that one. Red Devils are strong. Boy, they are strong.
Yeah.
They're playing very good football. A game that I thought was going to be a really, really good game last weekend. It was BHP had their moments, but Clinton controlled that game really in the second half, 128-13. Chapman's been playing good football. I did not think they were going to blow out Seneca like they did.
I didn't either.
I thought Seneca was going to win the game, actually.
Yep.
So I was very impressed with that. But Clinton knows what it's like to beat these guys already this year.
Yep.
I think they do it again Friday.
Yeah, I saw we had Trent and Jamie asking for this one. Appreciate you guys hopping in with that one. Clinton won this game 49-19. It wasn't even close. Obviously this is kind of weird because last year they were in the same region. Chapman beat them on a controversial play late in the game. Took the region from Clinton. They kind of feel like they're at the Red Devils do. This year's a revenge game for Clinton. They come back and win it. And now is it revenge for Chapman now? Does it flip again? I don't know. This Clinton team held BHP to 13, a team that was averaging 42 points a game.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a performance there. Obviously, we know what they do with Copeland and Robinson and James on offense. Chapman and Coach Cabinets, we haven't talked much about those guys, but they've been playing great football. They really started running the ball more with Matthias Scott the last few weeks. He's really gotten, I think he had a 200-plus yard game, and maybe it was 250-plus even last week. Had a huge game for those guys on the ground. But honestly, John, I feel like that quad they came out of there wasn't that strong. They beat a Seneca team in round 2, beat Emerald round 1. Neither one of those wins really impressed me that much. I mean, they're fine wins, but not great wins. I like Clinton to win this one. I actually think they might roll, John. I love what the Red Devils are doing, man. That team is tough. They're fast. They're physical. I think they're playing great football right now.
I could see, I'm hoping 10 to 14 point game. But I certainly don't see Chapman rolling. Clinton, I could see Clinton running it up a little bit on Chapman.
Yep. Let me get this some more comments read, and we'll kind of move on to 2A, John. Now we got a couple more I need to check out here. Let's see what we got. We've got comments from just about everybody, I feel like.
It's great. I love it.
Let's see. Trent says, Clinton, we just talked about that ball game there. Looking back to other stuff in 2A, Robert says, Woodland could control that game and win. Michelle says, Warhorse Nation. Michelle, appreciate you hopping in. Always glad to talk to you. Robert says, Oceanside knows they're soft in the middle. Zach says, you ever hear any more about having it BC and Dillon? Yeah, just a lot of pushing and shoving. We don't have any details. We know some coaches had to be restrained. They did play the full game out. The clocks did hit 0. But just a lot of pushing and shoving and almost fights, and it sounds like.
Yeah, you get in between the white walls. You got a playoff game and
high intensity, man. It happens sometimes.
We know these teams are both sides are very confident, very they're physical teams. That they believe in what they do. They got a little bit of a chip on the shoulder kind of edge to them. So you're gonna have some flares every now and then in the game, and that's okay.
Yeah, Nikki says go big Dillon. Robert says Oceanside's announcer sounds like Batman on their live feed. I'll have to check that out. Donald says he's taking Clinton over Chapman. I agree with you there. Zach said should have seen our guys' faces when they heard we got Chapman again. Had an evil grin on their face. Yeah, like I said, they already beat them handily once. They do it again this week. Greg says go Big Red. Zach says Big Red Machine is rolling. John said he's got a top 10 rank. He's got number 1 Dutch Fork, I believe is how I'm reading that there, John. Let's take a look now at 2A in some fantastic matchups. I know we've gotten asked about Oceanside and Woodland. We'll get there in a minute, but let's look at some 2A matchups.
Yeah, so the winner of that game is actually going to take on the game we've not talked about yet, Andrew Jackson hosting Barnwell. This game I'm really excited about. I've been high on Andrew Jackson all season long. Barnwell, we see what they do every single week. They are an absolute juggernaut.
Yep.
Andrew Jackson's been awesome. They've been very, very good. Kind of flown under the state's radar a little bit, in my opinion. I think this is going to be an incredible ball game. I think could be a little bit low scoring. I think the defenses are going to be pretty aggressive in this game up in Kershaw. Barnwell's a better team.
Yeah.
Barnwell's got a little more talent. I think that takes over at some point. Maybe a big play by Tyler Smith. I'd see that being the difference maker. Andrew Jackson plays a great team game. They're solid all around. I think it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be tough to win on the road over there, but I think they do it by a little bit.
The Volunteers started off 0-2 and have won 10 in a row. And those losses lost to Fairfield Central week 0. Kind of weird when they kind of got blown out by the Griffins. They lost to Crestwood by 3. I think it may have been an overtime game there, actually. A very tight ball game. They got a running back, Trey Thompson, averaging about 190 a game. That's 35 touchdowns on the year. Trey Thompson doing a great job running the ball. But you mentioned Barnwell, man. I've been high on those guys all year, even in the preseason. I love the quarterback, the young kid, Cam Austin. Huge fan of Tyler Smith. Huge fan of Clay Pender. Maurice Odom. They got so many players there. We keep saying, when we talk about Tyler Smith, Mr. Football finalist, he's awesome. Has 200-plus yard games, 300-plus yard games. I keep thinking that one week there's going to be a big Clay Pender game. Maybe he has 3 touchdown catches, has a big kickoff return for a touchdown, whatever it is. Maybe it's this week. I don't know. But I like the Warhorses in this one. Also, I expect to see maybe a little bit more Smith and Pender on defense for Barnwell, too, in this game. Love to see Trey Thompson, Tyler Smith meeting in the hole. That'd be fun to watch, see that going. But love what Coach Garrett's doing. I think the Warhorses win again this week on the road. But tough place to play. Very tough place to play, but I like the Warhorses.
Yeah, I hope we see a really close game, and I'd love to see a bit of a defensive battle, maybe a 20-14 kind of ball game here in this one.
Should be a really fun one there between the Warhorses and the Volunteers.
And then down in the low country, we'll see Oceanside hosting Woodland.
Hope all you guys are still in here asking about that game. Hope y'all are still tuning in.
Woodland's had an incredible season. They beat a pretty hot Sherall team that busted on the scene late last week, 48-7. Woodland, they play great. They got a great offensive line.
Yep.
They're pushing people around. Oceanside has just been, we talk about in 5A, Dutch Fork's a little bit on a different level. In 4A, South Florence a little bit on a different level. In 2A, it is an absolute another year that Oceanside has been on. Woodland is a terrific team. Terrific. I don't know if they keep this game within 10.
Woodland quarterback Darian Harrison, one of the best athletes in the state, getting offers from everybody. He's got an offer from Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, Virginia. Really good player, really good athlete, quarterback, can throw it and run it. Obviously, about Cam Pringle, the big lineman for next year's class up front for those guys. Aaron Pulliam on defense. Jones and those guys, and Simmons on offense for those guys. I like what Woodland does a lot. I saw them firsthand against Barnwell. They kind of imposed their will for a little bit there up front. They really did. On the Oceanside side, lineman Monroe Freeling, big guy for this year's class. Edward Reidenbach playing great at quarterback. Jace Kravchik out wide. Hagedon playing great. It's very interesting to see, if we see both these teams play those two offensive linemen on the D-line a little bit. We saw Cam Pringle play some for Woodland against Barnwell. I've seen Freeling play some against Gray and other teams up front for Oceanside. Love to see those guys going head-to-head. Freeling and Pringle on the offensive line, seeing them kind of trying to block each other could be really fun there. But here's why I'm going Oceanside. A guy by the name of Vaughn Blue, he's back. Hadn't played since, I think, September. He's back this week. They've been rolling without him. Vaughn Blue, one of the best backs in the state, a Charlotte commit. Really good player. I think he's too much. I think Oceanside, a little too much speed. I think Freeling, that D-line, is going to take that personally. Timmy Castine up front is the big-time player for them. I like Oceanside to win this game. I think you might be right. It might be 10 to 14 points.
Yeah, if Woodland plays well.
Yeah.
If they play well. Keep in mind, Oceanside played a really good Wade Hampton team last week.
Yeah.
71-27.
Yeah.
Very good Wade Hampton team. That Oceanside team is scary.
Yeah. So it's a Wade Hampton team, I think, that Woodland beat by 7 or 8 earlier in the year. So, yeah, I like Oceanside in this one.
On the upper state side of the bracket, Abbeville will be playing Fairfield Central, a Fairfield Central team that has been playing really good football all year round.
They have.
And they've been pretty hot. A game that we talked about last week going, boy, this is a coin flip. It could go either way. They defeated Silver Bluff 22-8 last week. Very impressive win, I think, for that team. Silver Blood been playing really good football second half of the season. I think this is going to be an awesome ball game. I love what the Griffins have been doing lately, but Abbeville they're got to be as healthy as they've been all year.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So Antonio Wright was in here earlier.
Tony Harrison, yep, he's back.
Great to see him back on the football field. Good playmaker for those guys. I love Abbeville. I love that they are so deep. They've got, if one guy's out, another guy steps up. You know, they've got a lot of depth. They play good football, and they can do it all. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They play pretty good defense. I really like Abbeville in this one. I think they're slightly the better team. I think they win this game. Nothing against Fairfield Central. I think they make this a pretty good ball game. I think Abbeville's just a little bit better. Yeah,
Fairfield Central is they're still a younger team. The quarterback's a freshman, Cam McMillan. Has had a great year for them. They've got some playmakers besides him, though, that are really tough in the return game, also out wide. But I think they might be a little too young. We'll see. But it should be a fun matchup. You know, Abbeville, like you mentioned, Harrison's back now, one of the premier backs in the state, back, healthy, playing. Patterson running the ball is a load to bring down. You know, Javario Tench can be a playmaker in the return game as well. He's played great all year. Zay Rayford missed some time earlier in the year. He's back now, fully healthy. He's a dynamic player at that quarterback spot for them. Abbeville, you know, at home especially, Hyatt Stadium is no joke. Should be a great matchup in the Griffins and the Panthers. I think the Griffins may be a year or two away from really being a state title contender. I like what Abbeville's doing. It should be a fun game. I do think it could be pretty close. You know, another guy like on defense, Ty Cade's a great player for them. I'm trying to think of names I just hadn't thought of, but yeah, Ty Cade's a great player. Lots of great out options for Abbeville. And I think they win this game, but it should be a close one, I think, at High Stadium.
Yeah, it should be a very competitive ball game. Fairfield Central's not going to give them anything, that's for sure.
No doubt.
And then we talked about one of our games of the week on the other side of that bracket, a rematch of one of the best game I've been to all year, the Strom Thurmond Saluda game. This time over in Johnston, over at Strom Thurmond Stadium. So that will be a great game as well for 2A.
Yep, a couple comments here. Mario says Dillon has not lost a home playoff game since 2011. If they win against Camden, they should be back inside the white walls to play either Beaufort or Gilbert. So that would be a big win to get that home game there. Robert says sounds like Christian Bale Batman. Michelle says consistency for the Warhorses. That's right. Some more predictions from John. Says Dutch Fort, Gaffney, Byrnes, South Florence, 1 through 4. Maybe this is power rankings. I don't know. George Highsmith says Mr. Football is from Barnwell. Hey, Tyler Smith's a heck of a player, man. He could certainly win it. I would not be upset about that at all. Greg says his guy Harrison with the wood is a man. Yes, he is a really good player there for Crestwood. He's a big time player there. So you're talking about somebody else, I'm not sure. I think I got you there. Sean says Barnwell's to cut way back on their penalties. You know, sometimes that happens. You know, especially a game like on a Saturday where it's kind of a weird setup. You get some weird stuff happening. But I think they're in a good spot. Robert says 4, 8, 9, 14, and 1 can move the ball. Michelle says Warhorses are consistent and humble. They certainly are. Robert says Willow can do it. He thinks they can win. We heard that a few years ago about Oceanside. We shall see. Drill says condolences to the community. Exactly right. Yeah, the violence at UVA just unreal yesterday, and prayers to that Woodland family for sure. Ryan says Oceanside by a lot. Jarrell says Abbeville hasn't played anybody in the playoffs. Griffin's upset. Greg says yes, sir, Abbeville. Robert says Abbeville is a real boogeyman in the closet. Greg says Abbeville by 21. Robert says Abbeville best team in the state. Greg says Ty Cade hits hard. Yes, he certainly does. Should be a fun ball game in all the 2A matchups, really.
Yeah,
John.
and Abbeville, I mean, you can say they ain't played anybody in the playoff, but boy, they gave Powdersville all they wanted.
Yeah, played West Side tight with some injuries too as well.
They were down a cylinder in those games. They're full power Friday. That's gonna be everything Fairfield Central wants and more.
Yep, Michael said you guys breaking down the SCISA games tonight. You'll have a quick overview of those two once we get through 1A as well. But John, let's look at the 1A matchups for round 3 of the playoffs.
In Lower State, we'll have Lamar going to Johnsonville. Super good game here. Lamar has turned it on lately. A really good win against a very strong back-to-Sill team last week, 16-12. And then Johnsonville knocking off Big Bamberg, 14-7. And a game that was a tremendous ball game.
Yeah.
Great defensive battle. I was a little impressed. I think I picked Bamberg in that game. I was impressed. Flashes. They put their money put their mouth. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Big win there for those guys.
I'm gonna go with Johnsonville at home. I like what the Flashes have done. They've been good all year.
Yep.
I was just worried about who they played and the fact that they put it on, not put it on, but beat Bamberg last week. Speaks volumes to me. Defense playing super, super well. I think this is going to be a really close ball game, a really good ball game. Could be another very low-scoring game here. One or two big plays could do it for either side. I like Johnsonville a little bit at home.
Yeah, I hope Jordy Rhodes is still in here. I know you asked about this game earlier. I hope you're in here. It's still Jordy. Johnsonville, Daquan Burrows, an all-star running back, is just a great player for Coach Cribb's squad there. Malik Shippey is a really good quarterback, knows what he's doing with that offense there, but Burrows is the playmaker for me. Looking on the Lamar side, I've been high on those guys all year. They lost a couple games early, lost to Andrew Jackson, lost to Legion Collegiate and Dillon. No shame in any of those losses there, really. McManus kid's a stud. But I'll tell you what, in that win last week over Baptist Hill, the offense wasn't great. One of those touchdowns was a defensive touchdown to win that ball game. Lamar has been solid all year, playing great football. But I'm going to go Johnson. I think they stay undefeated. I love Daquan Burrows. A little too much firepower on offense. I'm thinking maybe like 20-14, 17-10. I'm thinking low-scoring football game here in the PD. Great action there at Johnsonville. But I like Coach Cribb's Flashes to keep rolling.
Yeah, I agree. I think if someone scores 20, that could be enough in this one.
I agree.
Winner of this game will get the winner of Estill hosting Cross.
Okay.
This is a game that I don't know where to go with this one either. I picked Lakeview to beat Cross last week. Cross, impressive, wins that game 21-8.
Yep.
Estill, another defensive battle. The lower set played all kind of defense last week.
Yes.
Estill knocked off Cartersville 12-6 in that game. They had the reverse kind of game in round one, beating Hanna Pamplico. Typical Hanna Pamplico game, 60-56 in that ball game. Still an impressive win. I'm riding with Estill. They have come onto the scene, a team that was, or at least not on my radar early in the year, and then they just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. They knocked off. They blew out Bamberg in the regular season. That put them on the map for me after they did that. Another game where I picked the losing team there. I'm going to go with Estill. I think they keep it rolling. They're at home. Even though Cross surprised me last week against Lakeview. They're a very, very good team themselves. Would not be surprised whichever way this game goes. I think it could be another low-scoring game. But I like Estill at home.
Yeah, I said on the recap show with Jarrell that Estill's won both ways. So that round one, they won a shootout against Hanna Pamplico, won a defensive struggle last week against Carver's Bay, 12-6. I'm a big fan of this Cross team. You heard me say it last week.
Yeah.
Cross, obviously they're a 1 seed, but they were kind of like my sleeper. I thought they were kind of under the radar. One thing I did notice in 1A, all 7 1 seeds are still around. There's only 7. I think there's 7 conferences or 7 regions. All 7 are still in the playoffs. I love Carmelo Montgomery. I love Santori Jones. I think Cross keeps rolling. I think they win again this week. I think the Trojans get it done. All
right. I hope I like. We got another week where, and I picked a ton of bye games last week.
Same.
But I like we're going different ways on these, and I think that's great because it's certainly good. It's certainly good. On the upper state side of the bracket, this is one of the games of the week we talked about. Christchurch, Lewisville.
Yep.
Go back to that. We break that one down. I'm leaning Christchurch in that ball game. You're leaning Lewisville. Another could be a great game.
Yes.
Should be a great game. We'll see which way that one goes. And then winner of that game, we'll get the winner of St. Joseph's and Wagner Sally.
Yep.
Wagner Sally playing good football. They beat Ware Shoals in the first round. Then they had a tight game, knocked off C.A. Johnson 26-20 last week. They've had a great run. I'm going St. Joe's, though. They knocked off Southside last week in an absolute legendary game, winning that game 29-28. Huge win for St. Joe's. Avenged regular season loss to Southside. I think they keep it rolling this week. I think they get the W to head to the Upper State Championship next week.
There was a while this year we thought St. Joe's was the best team in 1A.
Yeah.
They were number one for a long time and got beat pretty handily by Southside Christian. Got beat handily again by Christchurch. They avenged that one loss last week. Walker Woods, a stud at quarterback, playing really good football for those guys, for coach there for St. Joe's. I think they win again. I think they're just a better football team.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I like what they're doing there.
And they're hot.
Yep.
They're hot, too. I think they take it as well. Now, I'm not sure they can beat the winner.
Yeah.
On the other side of the bracket, whoever comes out on top in that game. But you know what? I didn't think they were going to beat Southside Christian last week either.
Very true. Very true. Let's take a quick look at some more comments here. I saw a few more roll-ins. We were going through 1A. Let's see. George says, is 2A football the best in the state? It might be the deepest. There are so many teams in there we thought could win it or had a good chance to make a run, one of the playoffs. 2A is very deep.
And you look at what they've done outside. Oceanside has been very competitive. Nearly knocked off South Florence, who I think you could argue could be the best in the state.
Yep.
You saw Abbeville nearly knock off Powdersville early in the year. Arguably the best team in 3A.
Yep.
2A certainly has been getting it done this year. And Dillon, they're as good as anybody.
Yep. Saluda knocked off Gilbert. Gray, who's out now, knocked off Camden.
Yeah.
A lot of big wins out of 2A.
Beat Camden up.
Yep. A lot of big wins out of 2A. Nathan says Daniels only scored under 34 times in the last 61 games. So expecting a shootout here Friday night, John. Let's take a quick look at the SCISA state championships this week as well. Let's start with 4A. Hammond taking on Trinity Collegiate. Hammond taking on Lawrence Manning. Holy cow. They beat the Swamp Cats 37-6 in the regular season. This is a Hammond team that has just rolled once they've got into SCISA play. That they took Gaffney to the brink earlier in the year in a high school league matchup. Lawrence Manning playing good ball, beat Trinity by a point last week. Brandon King is a really good player, a coastal commit for those guys. I think the Skyhawks are too powerful. They have too much. What do you think about this game? I
think Lawrence Manning will be better in this game than the first time around. They've played some bigger competition themselves.
Yep.
They've done very well and been very impressive. They've had a very good season. But I agree with you. I think Hammond is pretty elite. I think they win this ball game.
I agree. Looking at 3A, we broke down that one earlier. PD Academy Florence Christian State title. That's at our games of the week. Go check that one out if you missed that one. Looking at 2A, John, Williamsburg defeated Bethesda 38-0 last week. Colin and Prep got some revenge. They beat Beaufort 23-20. So we got the Stallions and the Warhawks battling this week. Williamsburg's kind of been the favorite all year at 2A. Can they be upset or do they continue to roll?
I'm going to go Carlton here.
Okay.
A little bit of an upset because I thought Beaufort was going to beat them last week.
Yep.
I thought Beaufort was much better than they were in that game. They surprised me last Friday getting that win. And that momentum and that confidence they've gotten from that, I think they're primed to pull off a little bit of an upset in this one. I'm going to go Carlton. Yeah,
this should be a great ball game. Looking at the Colin Prep side, Cole Davis, the quarterback, is also leading the rush. A really good player there for them. Hayden Williams, Caden Crosby out wide. They've got some really good weapons, but I think Williamsburg is just too much. Conrad Balder and those guys there have been playing great ball all year. They beat PD, gave PD their one loss, who's in 3A there. They're playing great football as well, of course. I think the Stallions continue to win. Coach Don Shelley going for his 10th state title at 3 different schools total.
That's
so
incredible.
He's doing a great job there for Williamsburg. I think they win again. Another guy like is Camden Moore there for Williamsburg, but should be a fun ball game. I think Williamsburg wins that one. Looking at 1A, we got Lee Academy, who blanked St. John's Christian 20-0 last week, taking on Thomas Hayward, who beat Calhoun 43-22. Thomas Hayward, I think the 2-time state champs in a row. The Lee Academy has been tough. This is a game we did not see during the regular season. Does Thomas Hayward continue to roll, or does Lee Academy get a win this year in 1A?
I got to roll with Thomas Hayward. I kind of feel like I do about then, like I do Daniel, until someone proves otherwise.
Yep.
Gotta roll with the Kings until they get knocked off.
Yeah, Lee Academy coach Rankin's done a great job for those guys, but I love the Shuford kid, the quarterback Thomas Hayward. Really good player, dynamic athlete, can run it, can throw it. I think they win this game, but should be fun there. And looking down some 8-man, John, Holly Hill Academy been the favorite all year long. They beat Richard Williams 32-14 last week. W.W. King beat Faith Christian 22-18 last week. In the regular season, Holly Hill won this game 62-18. Does W.W. King have anything for the Raiders, or does Holly Hill just roll again this week in 8-man football?
I think Holly Hill rolls.
I do too.
I think they roll. You score 72 that deep into the playoffs.
You got something going on.
That's bad news written all over it right there.
Yeah, they're playing good football. I think Holly Hill wins again in 8-man, but it should be a lot of fun in the SCISA ranks this week. Their state title games, a couple on Friday, the rest on Saturday. Should be a lot of fun there, John. But let's take a look now at we'll get a couple comments here right quick. John says he thinks Byrnes going to kill Gaffney, either 49-21 or 31-20. That would be a surprise if it gets out of hand. We'll see about that.
I would be very surprised.
Let's look at our pick'em contest, John. Our playoff pick'em brought to you by Hanna Engineering. Been a lot of fun. These playoff games have been very tough for us.
Hey,
we've had a hard time. But I tell you who is not, and that is Chris G. Had 11 last week, comes back with 10 this week. A four-way tie for first. Dale B, David B, Chris G, Will K all had 10. Huge games there by those guys, doing a great job picking those. Tie for fifth, we had Andrew, Ahmad, Corey, all at 9. Tie for eighth, Richard, 228, Coach T and JJ, all at 8. And we had 13 tied with 7. Drell had 9 to lead the host here. I had 7, you had 5. A tough week for us. But hats off to those guys who got 10. I mean, we feel like at this point, every game can go either way. Crazy to see have somebody get 10 and 11 back-to-back weeks. So that puts Chris in our overall lead there with 21. A 3-game lead on David B and Will K at 18. Dale B at 17. Corey and Joshua at 16. Tony and Coach T at 16. Lance, MB42, Zach, and Mark all at 15. Jarrell at 16. I'm at 14. You're at 11, John. This playoff pick has been tough, man. But Chris G off to an early lead. We'll see if someone can. We got 3 weeks left. Someone could catch him still. But he is looking really good right now for our playoff pick'em winner, John. I'm going to give a quick shout out to our friends again before we go to a little wrap up and get out of here for the week.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Our preview show from Security Federal Credit Union offer much lower loan rates, don't charge fees other banks do. Whatever your personal journey, they're offer your smart personal solutions. SecuritySU.com, SecuritySU.com. Winter Banking Throughout Life member NCUA. The Georgia Agency service has been over 40 years insurance-wise, whether you're a small business owner or a seasonal employee, whatever it is, check them out. They can do group insurance or single insurance. Bradley, Wimmer, the GrewGeorgia.net. Do a great job. The early enrollment is here. Don't miss it. Get involved now.
It ends for me tomorrow.
Yep. So be on that stuff. Make a call.
Tomorrow might be the day. You got to lock it in.
Make a call to those guys, GeorgiaSC.net. Our games lead from Kona. 3 locations, Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville. They offer a synergistic approach to the spine, skeletal system, nervous system, and supporting structure, total quality care, optimal health. Kona.care, that's Kona.care. And then stock up, stock down from Founders Federal Credit Union. Get your head in the game with Founders Federal Credit Union. See how a Founders membership can elevate your financial game. Train your financial skills with our wide array of financial tools and services. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com today. See if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders Federal Credit Union. And Hanna Engineering, our pick'em sponsor. John, this has been a lot of fun on this show. Had a lot of viewers, had a lot of comments. Michael says, thanks for covering us little guys. Michael, appreciate you, my man. SCISA is always going to hold a special place in my heart, so I'm always going to follow those guys and try to give some shout-outs when I can. Been a lot of fun following that classification and that league this year, John. This is you guys' first time. If this is your first time tuning in to comment, we really appreciate that. But make sure to like us here on Facebook. We do this every Tuesday night about 7 o'clock. We go live with our preview show. Be back next Tuesday, so like our videos, comment, share, tell your friends. Check us out, our website, movingchains.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all Moving Chains. We all do different stuff. YouTube has all of our videos, has some interviews we only put on there, so go check that out. Subscribe to that page. We have some different photos and graphics on Twitter and on Instagram, so you want to follow us everywhere for sure. Our podcast comes out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. Drill and I do our recap show. It's a podcast only that comes out on those sites on Sundays. This show will be on our podcast apps later on tonight as well. In case you missed that, you can check out the audio-only version for that. We do our Friday Night Spaces. We do that Friday night around 10:30, 11. Basically, it's a live scoreboard show on Twitter. Definitely come hop in for that. It's a lot of fun. We always talk about the game that we're at. We have folks hop on and talk about the game they were at. A lot of fun to break down the action from across the state. We can only be at one game. In weeks like this, I wish it could be everywhere, but we just can't. So I want you guys to hop in there and join us on our Friday Night Spaces on Twitter. It's a lot of fun. Check out our interviews we just had on Coach Zach Lindeck from Catawba Ridge last week. Great interview. We've had Coach Stuart Young from Saluda on. We've had Ethan Campbell from Clinton on. A lot of great guys across the state this year. Even Jody Jennerette from West Florence earlier in the year. So lots goes up on our YouTube page there for you to check out. John, anything I missed from round 3 before we get out of here for the night?
I don't think so. We got a good slate of games. Should see an upset or two.
Yeah.
Don't know which ones they'll be. Don't know where they'll come from, but I know we'll have a couple.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, tune in again next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, our round 4 show. Upper State, Lower State final next week. You don't want to miss that. Going to be a lot of fun. They always say the goal is to be practicing on brown grass and practicing on Thanksgiving. Yeah. So if you made it to round 3, you're pretty much there. So hopefully we'll have some great ball games. We should, as every team, I feel like I said at the beginning of the show. every team in and out could win the whole thing. It feels like they're that talented. Nobody got here by accident. They're all great football teams, but been a lot of fun. For John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. This has been our round 3 South Carolina High School football playoff preview show here on Moving the Chains, and we'll catch you guys next week.